get them involved in an underground war in Iraq. Several hundred American servicemen and women are in the region. Their missions include launching airstrikes against the ISIS terrorist group, gathering intelligence about ISIS, and training and helping Iraqi forces fight ISIS. The Obama administration says U.S. troops themselves will not be going into combat. But the nation's highest-ranking military advisor says if he thinks U.S. troops should get involved, he'd recommend it to the president. While some lawmakers have questions about the roles of U.S. troops in Iraq, there's another issue to be considered as the U.S. leads the way in fighting ISIS: money.
The bill for military operations in Iraq keeps rising. On August 29th, the Pentagon said the mission is costing the United States $7.5 million a day, a relatively tiny sum compared to the billions spent in Iraq during our last campaign in the country. But what started as an effort to protect American interests in Iraq from Sunni militants is now morphing into something much bigger. The U.S. has completed over 150 airstrikes that started in August. And since the Pentagon released the daily average spending figure, President Obama authorized additional military personnel twice. He also opened up the possibility of airstrikes outside of Iraq.
We will hunt down terrorists who threaten our country wherever they are. That means I will not hesitate to take action against ISIL in Syria as well as Iraq.
On top of that, the president is hoping Congress will authorize a $500 million request he made in June for training and equipping the rebels in Syria to fight ISIS. Currently, the U.S. is financing its involvement in Iraq through an $85 billion allocation in the Pentagon's Overseas Contingency Operations account. That money had been financing troop drawdown in Afghanistan and other activities in the region. And the president says he does not need extra authorization from Congress. To be sure, the scope and strategy of U.S. involvement in Iraq today is very different than during Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2003 to 2011. For one, at its peak, there were more than 150,000 troops on the ground that needed housing, logistical support, and supplies. An estimated price tag for that war by the Congressional Research Service is $806 billion. Now, that doesn't include interest on the debt to fund the war, or billions more for continued veterans care. It's important to remember, it wasn't expected to cost that much. In October 2003, 6 months after operations began, the CBO estimated Iraq would cost $85 to $200 billion through 2013. Estimates that were way off. With Obama's latest announcement, the U.S. military will have approximately 1,500 personnel in Iraq. Now, more people means more money, so we'll have to see how high the figures go from here. Christina Alessi, CNN Money, New York.
Call out.
Time for the roll call. All three of these schools requested a mention on yesterday's transcript at cnnstudentnews.com. James M. Bennett High School is present in Salisbury, Maryland. The Clippers send the competition sailing. Jumping south to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and sending a shout out to all of the Raiders at St. Thomas Aquinas High School. And in the South Dakota city of Bonesteel, it's great to see the Cougars of South Central Middle School. There are a few different definitions for computer hacker. One is someone who's really skilled in computer programming. One is someone who tries to break into protected systems. And then there are ethical hackers. These are people who aren't intending to steal information like credit card numbers. They're employed to hack into systems to show a company or government where its networks are vulnerable, how they can be broken into. Ethical hackers can make over $100,000 a year while keeping criminals from stealing a dime.
You might think that the government takes your information, your personal data, very, very seriously and safeguards it. But if you think that, you're wrong. We have been talking to two ethical hackers who have found major security vulnerabilities in 50 universities, more than 100 schools, and more than 20 government agencies, hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of incredibly sensitive files. So how did this happen? In 2012, Oracle told its customers, we have this vulnerability, use this security patch. And these government agencies and schools and universities did not apply it. So this big security hole exists there. Now bad guys can access it too. What kind of information are we talking about? Really, it's the most sensitive information that anyone who traffics in identity theft might be very eager to get their hands on. Dates of